Good day everyone, and Miss Sophia. We are from grade 7 and the country we have chosen for this assignment is Australia. First of all, I would like to do a very simple introduction about Australia. Australia is the 6th biggest country in the world after Russia, Canada, China, United States and Brazil. It has a landmass of 7,006,930 square kilometers and is the largest country among 14 countries in Oceania. Australia is one of the most remote countries in the world and ironically one of the most popular places to visit, especially among backpackers and budget travelers. It has attracted millions of tourists every year. There are 4 tourist motivation factors to travel in Australia that will be discussed in this video presentation. The first tourist motivation I want to talk about is the natural attractions. In Australia, you will find an incredible bounty of jaw-dropping natural wonders. Many of Australia's beautiful landscapes have been formed by nature over the centuries. One of the top natural attractions in Australia is Lake CHEAH. Lake CHEAH is situated near the coast of Middle Island in the CHEAH archipelago to the south of Western Australia. It is about 600 meters in length by about 250 meters in width. The most notable feature of the lake is its pink and vibrant color. The vibrant color is permanent and it does not alter when it taken in a container. Most scientists do agree that the pink color of the lake is due to the presence of the specific species of microalgae, which is NURDIANA salina. Lake CHEAH isn't the only pink lake in Australia, but its country's must-see pink lake by the tourists. Next, Australia is also well known for the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest coral reef system in the world and home to the most amazing diverse marine life. It has attracted millions of visitors every year. The reef is located in the Coral Sea off the coast of Queensland, Australia. The best time to visit the Great Barrier Reef is during the dry season, which is from June to October. With less rain, the water can be crystal clear. Tourists can enjoy a range of activities at the Great Barrier Reef, such as sailing and fishing, scuba diving, snorkeling, spotting turtles and whales, and experience the breathtaking view of the reef from the air by helicopter. The last natural attraction in Australia is horizontal falls. The horizontal falls are an unusual natural phenomenon on the coast of Kimberley region in Western Australia, where tidal flows cause waterfalls on the ebb and flow of each tide. The falls are unlike any other waterfall because the water passes horizontally through 2 narrow gorges. It is possible for the tourists to take a boat and pass through the 2 gates to the bay behind to have a thrilling experience. The second tourist motivation factor is the man-made attractions in Australia. While Australia is home to a diverse range of beautiful natural features and attractions, it also has many man-made wonders that motivate the tourists to travel. One of the most famous landmarks in Australia is the Sydney Opera House. It is the most instantly recognizable symbol of Australia. The building of the iconic Sydney Opera House was completed in 1973. Its unique architectural style, shaped like huge shells, is recognized as one of the most unique buildings in the world. It has now been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Activities that can be enjoyed by the tourists at Sydney Opera House include enjoying the performance inside the building, to have a meal at Opera Kitchen, and hop aboard a ferry or harbour cruise for taking a photo from the water. The second man-made attraction is Crocodile Harry's underground nest. It is one of the most visited attractions in Coober Pedy, Australia. It was named Crocodile Harry's underground nest because Harry used to be a crocodile hunter during his life. It stands out with its cacophonous collection of bones, primitive arts, and messages from the visitors. It has been used on film sets in famous movies like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. For the tourists who love things that are eccentric, bizarre, something amazing created from nothing, will exactly love it. The last man-made attraction is Port Arthur. Port Arthur was a former convict settlement located near a small town, Hobart, which is the state capital of Tasmania, Australia. It is a prisoner's heritage site, which is also the World Heritage listed property, and is also the best preserved convict settlement in Australia. There are few activities at the Port Arthur History Site. For example, tourists can experience a commandant tour and take a walk and escape from the Port Arthur. For those tourists who like adventure, will definitely enjoy it.
Now I want to talk about the culture of tourist motivation. Australia is unparalleled geography, long history and multicultural style make it one of the most interesting places in the world. The cultural diversity that exists in Australia attracts people and plans to travel to the country. First, visit Adelaide and taste the coffee culture. Coffee culture has become the most important thing to go there in Adelaide. Enjoy Java here is a way of life for Australians. Second, based in the cultural cornucopia of Brisbane, the capital of Queensland is rich in Australian culture. Tourists can take a boat to enjoy the scenic Brisbane River. They also can see the Australian scenery from different angles in the boat. Third, drink a few beers in Hobart's beer scene. For the tourists who interested in the beer culture can head to Hobart, which is known as the city's beer park. Hobart Cascade Brewery welcome anyone to visit their factory and explore the production of Cascade Ale at the longest continuous beer brewing process in Australia. The uniqueness of the cultural heritage diversity also need to be fully utilised to attract more tourists and thus further increase the economic resources of the population. Now I want to talk about the wildlife. Due to the special shape and climates of Australia, as well as this physical different from other parts of the world, Australia has a known unique flora and fauna. First, kangaroo. These native Australian animals are marsupials and megapods. The red kangaroo is tall and strong. It is the largest kangaroo and largest mammal in Australia, sometimes standing more than 6 feet tall. Second, Tasmanian devils. These little animals almost look like a hybrid of a puppy and a bear. Their dark fur and round ears make them look like a baby bears and have a crunchy figure. Third, quokkas. It has the ears of a teddy bear and the eyes of a doll and live on Torres Island in Western Australia. This little giant foot belongs to the same family as kangaroos and wildebeest, and Mona Lisa's smile is even more adorable. These nocturnal animals are about the size of the normal domestic cat and look like a small and fat kangaroo. Since there are no natural enemies or traffic on the islands, quokkas have become accustomed to humans and often try to sneak into restaurants and campgrounds to find food. Australia is famous for this fascinating native wildlife. These animals are only three of the Australian animals, but there are many species animals in Australia that are worth watching.
Hi, my name is NORHAIZATUL ZULAIKA binti ANUAR and my matric number is S54761. Okay, next is tourism trend. There are 5 tourism trends in Australia, which are: first, desire for wide open spaces and remote destination. Second is travel as a force for good. Third is heritage tourism. Next is nature tourism, and last is local produce taking center stage. First is desire for wide open spaces and remote destinations. One of the important changes that have been occurred in consumer behavior as a result of COVID-19 is an increased awareness of health and physical distancing. The desire is to find less crowded destination and nature based on experience. Some of the key strengths include outdoor lifestyle, spectacular nature, clean air, and wide open spaces, and reputation for safety will keep stable as the world begins to travel again. Tourism Australia's Consumer Research (CDP) emphasizes that destinations that have open spaces feel safer for tourists. After spending a lot of time at home last year, people have a new appreciation towards the nature. Australia's nature is the perfect place to enjoy the fresh air and wide open space for travel safety. Next is travel as a force for good. Today's travelers are increasingly looking for brands and experiences that are not only good for them, but also good for the world and around them. This can take many forms, as simple as supporting local businesses by spending a lot on local winery, bakery, or butcher to gain speedy recovery through recovery visits and experiences, and also planting trees to help rebuild koala habitat that affected in certain areas. The third one is heritage tourism. The oldest living cultures in the world is the indigenous cultures of Australia, which stretch out over at least 60,000 years. Most travelers visit Australia just to discover and seek out the indigenous tourism experiences and learn more about their cultures. According to the National Visitor Survey, almost 1 million Australian travelers took part in an indigenous tourism experiences in 2019. In 2018, 761,000 trips involved participation in an indigenous tourism experience, a 28% increase from 2018 to 2019. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is NURDIANA JEMAHUR. My card matching number is S54379. So I will continue present about trend. The next trend is nature tourism. In Australia, they will find many incredible natural attractions. Australia's top 5 tourist nature attractions are beaches, wildlife, the Great Barrier Reef, wilderness, and national park. Such as example, Bubble Pink Lake, beautiful waterfalls such as Russell Falls and Jim Jim Falls. Australia national parks such as Uluru Kata Tijuta, Kakadu National Park. And the most interesting is explore Tristan's clear sea vibe. The seasonal tourists are interested in the diversity of natural and cultural resources. The tourists will definitely have a great experience by exploring the nature of Australia. The next trend is local product taking center stage. Local products such as agrotourism become the focus or trend for tourists to travel at Australia. Australia's new agrotourism gives visitors the opportunity to test a new side of the country's growing culinary scene. Visitors can also do various activities while experiencing this trend. Activities that they can do such as visiting a farm, spending the night on a farm, trying local products, trying picking fruit, and interacting with animals. This trend helps tourists escape from the hustle and bustle of the daily life in the city.
Moving on to issue and challenge, Australia is facing with four main issues, which is climate change, raising Australian dollars, the value in heritage tourism, and pandemic COVID-19. First, climate change. It is a big risk to tourism with surf weather directly affecting the behavior of tourists and the viability of tourism operations. Due to the climate change, Australia has become hotter and more prone to extreme heat, bushfires, droughts, floods, and longer fire seasons. It brings some effect on the ecosystem, which is the sea level rise and extreme events will threaten coastal zones, Pacific small island states, and large urban centers in Asian megadeltas. Alpine system as habitats shift to higher elevations and shrink in area. Inbound ecosystem dependent on firewater and groundwater that are affected by changed rainfall patterns. Moving on, climate change has led to bushfires. The number of extreme fire risk days has grown over the past 4 decades. On 2019 and 2020, Australian bushfire season, also known as Black Summer. Throughout the summer, hundreds of fires burned mainly in the southeast of the country. According to economists, the Australian bushfires may cause more than 103 billion in property damage and economic loss, making the bushfire Australia more expensive natural disaster to date. Sydney Airport was repeatedly closed due to smoke and wind conditions. Canberra Airport recently came under direct threat from fire. The Australian capital has ranked top for the worst air capital in the world. For the second issue, raising Australian dollars. Increasing Australian competition and resurgence, the dollar is a major challenge currently facing the Australian tourism industry. Australian international market share has declined in recent years and domestic tourism spending has declined since 2000. To overcome this issue, the Australian has launched a Tourism Industry Potential 2020. The few ways to overcome this issue is investment in new products, increasing productivity, increasing use of digital technologies, and overcoming manpower and skills shortage. The third issue for Australia is the values in heritage tourism. There is a limit awareness of the value of heritage tourism activities and the total contribution of heritage tourism to the weight economy. The National Trust has taken a leading role in advocating and implementing this initiative through their network and more than 300 heritage properties across Australia and by working with the other heritage tourism operations. The National Trust has creating a strong voice through national alliance and partnership. Second, that demonstrate the economic, social, and environmental benefits of heritage tourism. Third, they develop the skill and capabilities of heritage tourism operators. And lastly, they had developed a national heritage tourism strategy. For the last issue that facing by Australia, it is pandemic COVID-19. Based on Australian Tourism Statistics 2020, the arrivals of international tourists showed a 60% decline from March 2019 to March 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic had a devastating and prolonged impact on tourism. It had caused a sudden halt in international visitors. It is because most of the country is in a lockdown status so that not any international tourism can come into Australia. Next, it has restriction on domestic mobility. Furthermore, it has increased the health and safety concern. To overcome the pandemic issue, the industry need to adapt new technologies to deliver a safer experience and adhere to national safety measures. Based on the figure, the number of tourists had decreased continuously in 2020 due to the pandemic, either international tourists or domestic travelers. The larger decrease of the arrival of international tourists came from China, Japan, and Malaysia.
In conclusion, as we know, Australia is the world's only country that spans an entire continent, also known as the smallest continent on the earth. Motivation that motives tourists to visit Australia, which are natural, man-made, and cultural motivation. Australia faces many issues and challenges such as climate change, rising Australian dollar in tourism industry, pandemic COVID-19 and so on. To ensure the sustainability of the tourism sector in Australia, all related parties should take responsibility and always keep concerned about the tourism trend and issue. So that's all from our group member. Thank you.